Cool. Marek, Stycos here from High Tour Studios. We call it the Cabernasium in the foothills of New York. Come on in, I want to talk to you about the Manley microphones today. We're going to have a hell of a time. So what's one of the most important jobs of a producer? It is to engender and to nurture the best possible performance they can from the artist. How do you do that? Well, there's the inflatable couch you always travel with, right? Because you're a psychiatrist. There are tea candles you could light around the studio, incense you could burn, you might give them a shot of whiskey, right? And you might tear them down. We'll talk about that another time. But think about it. The gear is inspirational as well. If the sonics don't sound great in their headphones, then they may not be inspired to make the best performance. If the microphone they're singing into isn't super sexy and make them feel confident, they may not get the best performance. So today we're talking about the trifecta of Manley microphones. The reference cardioid, the silver, and gold. Microphones are like shoes. They have to fit perfectly, and you can never have enough. They're also like tools. When you got your Phillips screwdriver, it's obviously superior to a flathead, but you didn't throw away the flathead. So you want to collect a lot of great tools. You're talking to a microphone addict, okay? I've got about $180,000 worth of microphones right now. All right, so let's dive in. The reference cardioid. Shall we start there? The reference cardioid and the gold were released at the AES show in 1990. But they've been secret weapons for decades. What makes them special and what makes them different? The reference cardioid is the Just Add Talent microphone. People like Max Martin and his stable of superstars rely on them to just kick butt and not have to struggle. So what am I saying here? Pop the microphone in front of the artist, track it. There is very little that you will have to manipulate to get the sound that you want and the finished results. It gives you all the punch and pow and sheen for a finished performance. It also works extremely well on other things, like drum overheads and acoustic pianos, acoustic guitars. But today's focus is on the singer, is on the center of the song. If you're a U87 person, try the Ref C. It'll change your life. I own U87s because when an artist comes to my place and says, "Do you have the U87?" I can say, "Yes," but we most likely won't be using it for this track. They're great mics, don't get me wrong. Love them, used them for decades. I'm just saying, try a Ref C. Okay, boom. Moving along to the gold. What are the differences between these two mics? They are both tube microphones. They both have custom wound transformers, wound at the Manley factory, which is in Chino, not China. The differences between these two are not the electronics, they're in the capsule. The gold microphone hears everything. It's the truth, and you might not like it. Artists that have used the gold are people like David Bowie. It was Freddie Mercury's last microphone. Michael McDonald and all sorts of other people use it. It hears it all. It has multiple polar patterns. They're on a contiguous potentiometer. What that means is when I'm switching between cardioid and figure eight and omni, I can find all the sweet nuances. Remember that the timbre of the microphone changes with the polar patterns changing. So for your voice, it might sound the best in omni, and you might put some sort of reflection filter behind you to take the room out. But that may be the way that it works. So while you're tracking, change the polar patterns and find what sits perfectly for you. Gold, I love on drum overheads or out in front of a kit to get the bombastic room feeling. It works on pretty much everything as long as the source is beautiful, and that's what you want to capture. Lastly, let's talk about the silver. Man of the Silver Mountain! The silver is the new game in town, comparatively. What's different about it? Well, the electronics are similar, not identical. It again has a different capsule. What do I hear sonically from the silver? To me, Most microphones that have been released in the last 2 decades are fighting to be the loudest and the brightest. The Silver's not doing that. The Silver is your bro. The Silver never gets brash or strident in the top end. The Manley Silver top end is forgiving. It is wonderful to stack 32 female vocalists on top of each other and not have to reach for the equalizer to start taming things. Think about it. If a microphone boosts 3 dB at 6K and you stack 10 tracks, you now have 30 dB at 6K, right? You have a serious problem on your hands if you're doing these backgrounds, right? So the Silver is forgiving. It will be your friend. That microphone has a mid-range sentiment that people have forgotten about. What is important about mid-range? Everybody wants to talk about bass and treble, so it's like a big smiley face all day long. Well, guess what? I don't care if you're doing hip-hop, if you're doing heavy metal, if you're doing jazz, the vocalist is generally the key, right? So the vocalist, the mid-range, think about what else is in there. The snare drum, your electric guitars, right? There's so much that's happening in the mid-range that's so important. So the Silver focuses you there. The bottom end of it is creamy. That usually means sloppy. Not in this case. It is warm and tight and gentle. If you haven't noticed, I'm in love with the Silver right now. So that's my sentiment. And I own everything. All right, thanks for watching. And if you have any questions, hit me up straight up at audioalchemist.com.